Are you worried that during an interpretation session, there might be segments that are too long for you to handle? Don't worry, I'm going to give you a detailed explanation of what you can do during these cases.
Tune in as Interpret Your World's co-founder, Juan Prieto, talks about the highlights of his workday as a professional medical video remote interpreter. If you are aspiring to learn something new and gain insight into what the world of medical interpretation is really like, then you've come to the right place. Follow along as Juan talks not only about his success, but the daily challenges he has to overcome to become a better interpreter each and every day. This is Unwind Sessions with Juan Prieto.
So welcome back, guys. Today is Thursday, September 2nd, 2021, and today I took a total of 30 sessions, like always a mix between audio and video sessions. Today I had 2 video sessions that were very long, but I was pointed against the wall, so they weren't that bad. One of them was a dentist session. So I was just there. Well, for that one, I wasn't pointing to a wall. I was just there and I saw not the dentist, but the hygienist and the x-ray tech that was working on the patient's mouth. And pretty much all I had to do was just stare at him. And I had to interpret every once in a while, but it wasn't that much. And the other session, honestly, I don't even remember what it was. But I do remember being faced to a wall and being on hold for a while. And I think I didn't even interpret that much in that session. If I remember correctly, I think that the doctor came, like I was holding for a long time for the doctor. And then the nurse spoke Spanish. And then when the doctor came in, the doctor happened to speak English, so they just let me go. So it was a pretty easy session as well. Always nice to have easy sessions, and when they're that long, they are wonderful, at least to me. And audio sessions, there were not that very much audio sessions. There was one audio sessions where we had to call like 10 people, but that was about it. So it was pretty easy day today, but there were some highlights which I will get to in about a moment. But I have to remind you that we are still accepting comments for MIP 21. Remember, guys, that once MIP gets to 100, MIP 21 gets to 100 likes, we're gonna pick 2 comments at random. The people who those comments belong to are gonna get exclusive links to MIP 22, and we're gonna let them record their interpretations to that video and send their recording to us, so that way we can provide them with some feedback. So let's get to it, guys. There is still plenty of time to go. We only have 28 likes to that video, so we have like 70 more likes to go. So plenty of time. But do go ahead and get your comment in there, because once it reaches 100 likes, it'll be too late and there is no going back. We're not gonna pick any comment that was made after 100 likes. All right, so now that I've reminded you of that, I want to start with the highlights. So first of all, for the first highlight, there was a doctor that said losartan. So remember the other day I was saying that medication all weird and stuff, and it sounded weird to me, but I didn't know why I was saying it weird. I was saying it losartan or losartan or something like that. It's losartan. I'm sorry that I pronounced it wrong the other day. And you think, like, I hear it almost every day. You think my scumbag brain was telling me, no, that is not how you say it. But it wasn't nice enough to me to tell me this is how you say it, right? So bad brain. And that happens sometimes. So losartan, not losartan. It'll make you sound all weird and stuff. So I just had to get that out of the way. And for my first highlight, well, my second highlight, I should say, right? Because today I remembered how to say Losartan. So that was the first highlight. Second highlight today, Harlights. Second highlight. All right, we're gonna call this Harlights from now on. So the second highlight is a new term, which the definition I obtained from MayoClinic.org, and the word is sarcoidosis. Sarcoidosis is the same in Spanish. You can just read this example and that's it. That is the same in Spanish, same in English. In Spanish is sarcoidosis. Just the pronunciation is different. So sarcoidosis is a disease characterized by the growth of tiny collections of inflammatory cells, granulomas, in any part of your body, most commonly the lung and lymph nodes, but it can also affect the eye, skin, heart, and other organs. So they thought that a patient had this, but they weren't sure, so they were gonna get him tested because they saw something that apparently was sarcoidosis for his lungs, and the gentleman was having problems in his lungs, so they had to do an x-ray, if I'm not mistaken, to make sure that he didn't have that. So they were gonna check his chest, the chest x-ray, to get that. So that was a new word today. And another thing, okay, I remember now why I didn't interpret so much for that session, because the nurse spoke Spanish. And then, well, yeah, she spoke Spanish. Let's just keep it at that. And then the doctor came in, so it was a very long session waiting for the nurse. Then when the nurse came in, she spoke Spanish, not 100%, but her Spanish was understandable. And then after that, the doctor came in, and then the doctor said, "Oh, I speak Spanish, so I can just let you go." So that was a pretty nice session. Like, I didn't even have to work that hard. I only had to say flaxseed was the only thing that I had to interpret, and of course I had to look it up in Lingui. I couldn't remember what flaxseed, and I always forget flaxseed, but if it's linaza in Spanish, for those that are wondering. So flaxseed, and it's not that common, and I don't use it. I know what flaxseed is. I've had it. I've eaten it. I know how good it is for you. But for some reason, I don't remember. I don't remember the name of it. And linaza, I remember it right now. But if you probably ask me in a week, I might probably forget. And I don't know why that happens to me. But when the nurse practitioner walked in during this session, the first thing that she said to the patient, she said, "Hola, soy más o menos la estudiante del doctor." So I looked at her and I couldn't believe the words that came out of her mouth. Now, for anyone that doesn't speak Spanish, what the lady said was, "Hi, I'm kind of the student to the doctor." So can you imagine me going ahead and introducing myself to the doctor? "Hi, I'm kind of the employee in this company. Hi, I'm kind of the interpreter." Like, right? Like, are you or are you not? What does that mean? Kind of the student to the doctor? That made me think I was in for a very hard session, but surprisingly, that was like the worst thing. This she was a nurse, advanced practice nurse. I don't know what she was, but advanced practice nurse, I think is what they said, something like that. So that was the worst thing she said. I thought she wasn't gonna speak good Spanish, but she had a little bit bad pronunciation, but she was pretty good. Like I said, I only had to interpret flaxseed and another little word. I don't remember what it was. But the patient also spoke English, surprisingly, and they were speaking to each other, and the doctor understood more Spanish than she spoke, so they got by pretty well. And so yeah, I just más o menos estudiante, kind of the student of the doctor. That just, I don't even know what to make of that. All right, and the other session, comes from a lady that this I could see that this lady was in distress because she kept on moving around like this, like she was in a lot of pain. She expressed that she was in a lot of pain, and she told the doctor many times she was in pain, and I I understood this. I understood that the lady was in pain, and I understood that, I mean, of course, if you're in pain, your head's not gonna be right, right? And I understand all of this. I got in the lady's shoes. Oh, but that doesn't mean she did not annoy the living lights out of me. Honestly, like, and I understood that she was in pain. I never ever did I lose my composure, but I guess my face probably was telling another story, because at one point the lady told me, please don't get upset at me. And I mean, I couldn't, but I stayed professional. I did the job. I interpreted the best that I could for her, and that doesn't mean I wasn't annoyed. I was up to here with that lady. But of course, it's my job, and I needed to help her, and help her I did. And I was not gonna leave that session until that session disconnected on its own, or that lady had been helped. So let me tell you why I was annoyed at this lady. So of course, she was in pain, like I said, and her stories were like repeating the same thing over and over and over and over in the same rendition. She could give me the same story three times, and whenever I was interpreting what she said to the doctor, she would look at me in the face, and then she would say, ¿Qué dijo? ¿Qué está diciendo? No le entiendo. If you don't speak Spanish, she used to say, what are you saying? I don't understand you. What? So that really annoyed me, like, because of course you're concentrated on interpreting, and then you have like this other stuff coming at you, and I didn't even know what to make of it. And then when I was about to interpret what she said, she would also like just interrupt me, like, boom, I gotta say the same thing that I just said, but I feel the need to express myself again. So it was very annoying. And one thing that I do is, if I'm interpreting for someone, and if like I'm about to give my rendition and they start speaking, I stop, because to me it means they probably missed something, or they want to change what they said, or I don't know, whatever, right? And it turns out that I was stopping just to hear what I had already said. So it was a very annoying session. And then of course, when the doctor was speaking, the lady would be like, ¿Qué dijo? ¿Qué dijo? What did he say? What did he say? And like, oh, honestly, I just wanted that session to be over. Like, you don't know how bad, like how annoying she was. Like, but I knew she was in pain, and I knew she needed help. So I knew I was gonna get through the session. And I don't know, I'm sorry, lady, maybe you saw my face, and I mean, no, you did everything that I hate, and I'm sorry, but I didn't refuse service. I didn't hang up the call. I just got through it like a trooper. So the way it needs to be done, right? But goddamn, that was annoying. It just makes me feel annoying just thinking about it. All right, and today I forgot how to say arrepentimiento. Well, not arrepentimiento. I forgot how to translate it, which arrepentimiento is regret. And I just made a little well, I just looked back upon my memories, and I remember that arrepiento, failure, sorry, hopelessness, those words, sorry and hopelessness, they don't get me anymore. I already know them. But of course, I've always known them. But the first time I encountered them in an interpreting session, I did not know what to say. Honestly, Like, can you believe it? I didn't know what to say for sorry. I didn't know what to say for hopelessness, and failure as well, and now arrepentimiento. So I don't know, like those look like very, very negative words. So maybe my mind doesn't want to know them, right? It just sticks them out of my head and just leaves them in the darkest corner of the room, right? And that way I don't use them in my everyday vocabulary and stuff. I don't know, but it just seems weird to me that like this words with negative connotations are things that I forget often. Well, not hopelessness or failure, or sorry, I mean, but failure, yeah. Failure is one of those words. I've already said this before, and I forget it. All of a sudden, they say failure, and I don't know how to say it. Right now, I could say fracaso because a little bit earlier I thought about it. I didn't have to look it up. I just had to think for like 6, 7, 8, 10 seconds before I had it. So I don't know what happens there. All right, and that was it for the highlights today. And today, Fabiola, you missed out on a video. I was gonna make a video for you about the hotline of interpreters for Washington State, but I honestly I couldn't find any information on that. I found something that is HCA and Universal Interpretation, a company that does the interpretation for like the state of Washington and medical stuff. But I'm not sure if that's what you mean. So look at that, and I forgot to write the things. But let me know if it's that. I can actually look it up real quick. Let me know if it's that. If it's the HCA, yeah, HCA Universal. So look it up. Let me know if that's what you meant, because I couldn't really find that information about that question. So sorry about that. But if you give me a little bit more information, a little bit more description where I can find more information about that, I will definitely get you your video. So sorry about that, Fabiola. And let's get to the main dish, the main course. So Marcelo Andre Cortez Cepeda is asking me a question. He asks, do you think people tend to give longer segments in BRI just because they can see you, or is it irrelevant, or is it actually maybe the other way around? When taking Okay, yeah, that is the first question. So I've already answered that, and the short answer to that is that you are the one that is in control of how long the segments are, partially. But for the most part, that's you. That's on you. So I'm going to talk more about that in this session. But let's get to the other questions, which they are easy. When taking notes and interpreting, should you be looking at your notes and making sure you get them right and read them properly, or is it a mix? In my company, they ask us to, of course, look down at our notes, because if you're looking at the person, you cannot look at your notes. If you're looking at your notes, you cannot see the person. So what they ask us in our company is to look down at our notes, but every once in a while we're taking notes, we have to look up at the patient to acknowledge that we're understanding, and then just write it down and look up at the patient. When you're interpreting, the same thing. You look at your notes to read, and then you look up, you look at your notes, and you look up, and you could be delivering and reading notes and looking up. Just make sure to make contact every once in a while. You don't have to, no, right? That would be very awkward, and you look creepy, so don't do that. Right? So no, you don't have to look at people's faces right there. So it's a mix, notes and people, right? And then it says, or perhaps you really have to be looking at people's faces all the time. No, you don't. I understand pretty well that keeping a good posture and a poker face part, but when it comes to doing your job right, what's more important? That was a lot, I know. Yeah, it was a lot, man, but I'm here for you. All right, and no, you don't have to be looking at people's faces all the time, but in VRI you do need to be right here. You cannot step out of this little square right here. So that's it. That's your limitation. And of course there is a computer, right? here's the camera. So if you have a computer like to the side or wherever you have the computer, you can always, in case you have to look up some information, a new term or something, you can always look away, look up the term, but you have to look back. All right. So it's not like you have to, but it's more like you have to be right here in this little screen. And sometimes when you're on hold and they put you right in front of the patient, so you're all looking at each other, they give you an opportunity to look away from the screen. You can look away from the screen to not well, just so you guys are comfortable, right? So the patient does not think like you're just watching him, right? And that way, I guess it eases the patient and it's better, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, if I had to look at a patient all the time, that would be impossible. First of all, I wouldn't be able to take notes. I wouldn't be able to read my notes. So yeah, don't worry about that. And that comes from practice. It's a little bit hard in the beginning, especially if you're used to OPI. But with practice, you'll get it. And sometimes I write a lot of notes, and then I look up every once in a while, and I'm pretty sure I forget sometimes. I'm not aware of it, but I do know that I look up every once in a while. So yeah, I mean, notes people. All right, and now I want to talk about the segments. First of all, I want to say, and I am about to sound very, very cocky on this one, but interpreting happened easy for me. What I struggled on was expanding my vocabulary and my soft skills. What are soft skills? Giving good customer service, smiling, even if you're in an OPI, they can't see you, but smiling, you have to smile. Going the extra mile, I still struggle with that. Asking for repetitions, letting the clients know my limitations. So that was like the biggest hurdle for me. The interpreting, it was not that hard once I had enough vocabulary of what I was gonna work on. Once I learned that, it was pretty easy, honestly. I mean, that's how it is, right? For me, the interpreting was easy. The soft skills are hard, and maybe for you, the soft skills are easy and the interpreting is hard. We all come in different shapes and sizes, right? So what might be easy for me might not be easy for you. What is hard for me might be easy for you. So just keep that in mind. We're all built different. We're all coming into interpretation with different experiences, different lives, different cultures even. So just keep that in mind. All right. You might have some things that you have to work on that are different from me, but since this is something that I really struggled on, and I've already talked about this in some videos, but I just wanted to go ahead and give it another go. All right. And what was the fundamental reason that I had problems asking for repetitions or letting the clients know my limitations? Where the fundamental reason is that I didn't want them to know that I was new. I didn't want them to think that I did not know how to interpret. I did not want to look dumb or foolish, and I did not want to lose my job. So I had all of these preconceived ideas that the pros just get it right the first time and they can always get the job done. Like, so wrong. I know that's so wrong because I'm a pro now, right? And if you think that as well, if you have those preconceived ideas, get rid of them right now, honestly, because they're not true. It is best to acknowledge your limitations as soon as there is a problem. Why? All right, let's say that you have a provider who's about to drop the hottest podcast, and just for the patient's ear, right? So he drops it, but right about minute 5, he's still talking, and you realize he's nowhere close to finish, but you let him finish because you don't want to be rude, right? So once that happens, you only have 2 options, all right? Option number 1, you can either give a shit interpretation, not recommended, or ask for a repetition. Not recommended either. All right, so let's say you go route number one. If the doctor catches you that you didn't give a complete interpretation, now that is a very, very, very huge mistake. And depending on how serious the situation, you can get in trouble. Not that you will, but you might, depending on the seriousness of the problem. Now, you did that. The doctor finds out. Now, the doctor thinks you're a bad interpreter. The doctor does not trust your interpretation. You just killed the doctor's trust in you forever. All right? Now, let's go route number two. Very rarely will you get a correct repetition that is the same, that is a carbon exact copy of what was just said. Something is always added, something is always omitted, something completely different will come out of that person's mouth. Believe me. All right? And when that happens, so let's say you ask for a repetition, right? A whole repetition of his whole podcast. So now the doctor's gonna be upset because you messed up his flow, right? He was spitting some mad explanations and you dropped the ball. So either one of those things, you waited till the end, and that is completely wrong. Honestly, don't do that, guys. You will not look professional, and there is no way that you can say that. You dropped the ball, there is no way that you are going to say that. So for scenario number two, the doctor thinks you're not listening. The doctor might not even remember what he said, and there's a possibility that all of the notes for your first rendition are completely worthless now. Doctor's not going to say the same thing. Sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't. All right, so what should you do? Let's say as soon as you feel uncomfortable about giving a precise rendition, you have to stop the other party and let them know that they need to give you a chance to interpret, and this is completely valid. i.e., you need to tell them, "Hi, this is the interpreter. I am sorry, but I am going to have to need you to stop right there, and if you can please speak in shorter segments, that way I can interpret with high precision and completeness." All right, and you proceed to say, "I will interpret what you just said up to now, but just keep that in mind, please." And then you interpret, and once you interpret, you go back to the client or to the person that you were talking to, the doctor, right? And that's completely valid. I mean, we're all interpreters here. Like I told you, we come in all shapes and sizes. And of course, we can work hard to be great interpreters. But right off the start, we're probably not the best interpreters out there, right? So it's okay. It's completely valid to go ahead and to not go for the longest segments, but just as soon please, as soon as you know that you're not gonna make it, just stop. And that way you have control of the session, you have control of the segments, and the people are gonna be like, "Oh well, he's a good interpreter, you know, he interpreted everything that I said." Of course, he was only saying like 3-4 sentences at a time, right? But you did it. You did what's gonna make you feel better, stopping the doctor and giving complete renditions, or letting the doctor continue and doing a very, very bad job, right? So what would I have done? Right about minute 5, I would have told the doctor, "Doctor, I'm sorry, but can you give me a chance to interpret what you have so far, and then you can continue, please." All right, that's another way to say it. So now you guys know that you don't have to worry about long segments anymore. Don't worry about them. I'm gonna give you 6 tips that are gonna help you to deal with long segments, and none of them have to do with practicing to interpret long segments. You can practice to interpret long segments, yes, and I suggest that you do it, but it's not necessary, right? Or you can just build your tolerance until a level that you're acceptable. You're like, "Oh, I don't think I need to go beyond 5 minutes," right? So let me give you what you can do. 6 tips for you to interpret, to not get in trouble when the people want you to interpret long segments, right? All right, so this is going to be tip number 1. All right, now you are the language expert. All right, so act the part. Ask questions, ask for repetitions, let them know that they need to give you shorter segments, stop them if they are saying too much, and start getting comfortable with this from day one, because this is part of your job. This is those tools that you need to master, right? And if you're like me, you're well, a person that just doesn't want to make other people uncomfortable, right? If you're that type of person, then it's gonna be hard for you to actually use these tools, because you might be a little shy, a little embarrassed, right? So start working up to it. Every time, whenever you get a chance, practice it, and practice, 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 and you'll just get used to it. Now, I just tell them, like, right away, if I sense something's not right, I can't do something, I just tell them. Of course, in the beginning when I started, this was so hard. This was one of those things that was very, very hard for me to do. But of course, with practice, I realized that I wasn't gonna do a good job if I just continued that way. So I said, all right, you know what, next session that it happens, I'm gonna do it. Of course, the next session I didn't do it. 3 sessions, 4 sessions, 5 sessions went by, and I was still struggling with it. But on the 6th session, I did it. Half-ass, but I did it. Then the next 10 sessions, and then probably on the 100 session, I was doing a great job, and now I can do a great job. I'm not embarrassed, and I can just tell the doctor to stop right there and to give me shorter segments. So you demand that if you need it, because that is your job as an interpreter, and no one can take that away from you, and you are the boss. You're the boss of the length of the segments. All right, so don't let any doctor or any client bully you around with giving you long segments, and tell them I told you that. All right, number 2, you, all right, no, this is what I said. You are in charge of how long the segments are. The doctor does not know your capabilities, but you do, and it is your duty to report them. All right. So the doctor, he might want you to interpret his hottest podcast, right? But if you're his interpreter and you can't do a long podcast, then he's going to need to change his strategy, right? It's not you that has a problem. You know your limitations, and you let the doctor know that he needs to give you shorter segments, and you do a great job. And that's it. You are a pro, baby. Don't let anyone tell you different. All right. Number 3, acknowledge your limitations. Know and test your skills so you have an idea of what your limitations are and how you can improve them or how you can work around them, right? So how to improve interpreting longer segments? Go ahead and practice longer segments. Get on YouTube, get on a video, try to interpret a 5-minute long session, utterance, I must say, and do it. Get it if that's your purpose. But if it's not, you can always work around it. You can always tell the doctors, the providers, the clients, the patients, anyone to give you shorter segments. All right. That is not to say give me a sentence at a time, right? There has to be like a comprehensible, and I don't know, this is going to be different for everyone, but there has to be like a comprehensible amount of time for you to interpret. And something to keep in mind, if I am not mistaken, in the CCHI test, segments can be up to 2.5 minutes long. So keep that in mind. I would say that is pretty much benchmark, right? That's what you should be working for, 2.5 minutes, because if that's what they're asking for the certification, then that should be your goal. All right. If you can do more than that, awesome. If you can't, ask for shorter segments. All right. Number 4, you can ask for shorter segments. All right. And if something is too much to handle, just let them. I'm sorry. This is the interpreter. This is just too much for me to handle. I will not be able to interpret that completely. Would you be able to provide me with shorter segments from here on out? And for the most part, they will. You might have to remind them again, but you're gonna get the job done. All right. And number 5, you can ask for repetitions. Now, try to avoid asking for whole repetitions unless you cannot hear like a very, very big chunk of what was said. And as soon as you miss 3, 4, 5 words, well, you're gonna be the judge, right? But I would say as soon as you don't hear a big chunk, just let them know. I'm sorry, this is the provider speaking. I could not hear anything you just said. All right, so you don't have to interpret. Or another thing is, let's say you missed the first 5 words, but you got everything else. All right, you have everything else, and you tell them, all right, I'm sorry, but I missed everything you said before you said this. All right, so they will have a mental recollection of what they said, and they can give you exactly what you need. All right, and if you can, just ask like specific questions. Like, for example, you missed what was wrong with the patient's right leg, but everything else you heard, right? You let the provider know, hi, this is the interpreter talking. I heard everything you said, doctor. I'm just missing the part about the right leg, right? The doctor can just remember what he said about the right leg, and oh, I just said this and this. But honestly, guys, asking for full repetitions, not that it's bad. It looks bad in my mind, but it's not bad. You can ask for whole repetitions because it's part of the job. But whenever you ask for whole repetitions, there is a possibility that the person is going to say something completely different. So that's why I don't like it. All right, because they completely change, and then your notes are completely worthless. So I don't like it. I don't like to do that. And this is a big tip. Ask for repetitions, but ask for just the information that you need. Like, be specific. Like, I missed the last thing you said. No, I got all the way up to the right leg, but I missed everything else after that. Or I missed the word that sounded like repetitions. I don't know, right? Just things like that. That way you get more precise answers, right? And you don't completely invalidate your notes. It's happened more times than you would imagine. All right, and number 6. All right, if you're in video or if you're in person, you can go ahead and interrupt the client or whoever. Just be like, that's it. That's it. Just tell them that that's it. I can no longer do more than that, right? But of course, like, just stopping them, like I'm just being silly right here with number 6. All right. Of course, I would never go like that to a client unless they couldn't hear me. But I would let them know, like, I'm sorry, stop, or just something quick, just to stop them and to let them know that they need to let you interpret. Just something quick, stop, all right? Just know that you can interrupt the client as soon as you think you're not gonna make it. It's best to interrupt them right there and then than to actually trying to patch up things after, right? Because it's already a big mess and the mess is gonna get bigger. But if you can catch the mess this size, then you're gonna be able to handle it, and then all of the following messes are gonna be that size, so it's gonna be easier to handle, right? But if you let the mess get this big, that's gonna be pretty harder to handle. All right, I hope you like my analogy. I hope that was good for you. All right, so that is going to be my 6 tips for handling long segments. You're the language expert. You are in charge of how long the segments are. Acknowledge your limitations. You can ask for shorter segments. You can ask for repetitions. And you can interrupt the client to tell him that he needs to let you interpret. All right, so that is going to be pretty much it for me today, guys. Please leave your questions in the comments and I will answer some of them on the next session. Remember that if anything is time sensitive, just let me know and I'll try to get to that video on time. Alright, I'll be here every Monday through Friday after work. Also remember that we have a Patreon page for as little as $1 of your support. You help motivate us to create much more content, and we give you access to all of the medical practice videos ad-free on that page, scripts, answer sheets, vocabulary list, and much more content. And most importantly, you will forever win a place inside of our heart. Alright, so to all of our patrons, much love. We love you guys. To everyone that has bought us a coffee, much love as well. We really love you, as well as the patron. We really love everyone. Alright, we love all of our subs, and we love you that is watching the end of this video. So thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe if you haven't done so for much more content, and don't forget to share. Happy interpreting. Goodbye.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Unwind Sessions. Make sure to subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your favorite shows. And if you learned something new today, it'd be great if you left us a review. You can also visit us on patreon.com/interpretyourworld or visit our website, interpretyourworld.com. Unwind Sessions.
Don't forget, we also have social media. We have a Facebook group and a Facebook page. We also have an Instagram and the one I love the most, TikTok. We just recently got a Buy Me a Coffee, and also, if you guys didn't already know, we do have a Patreon account. If you guys would like to support us a little more, we'd love to have you guys over there. And as always, I will be posting all the links to these pages down below in the description box.